My name is Lester Leavitt, and welcome to the Driftless Rivers Coalition podcast channel. I promised in the last video that we would be talking a little bit more about Frederick Douglass and the moral clarity that he provided to the United States in the 1850s. As you can see on this graphic here, the title of this video is We've Been Here Before, Part 1. And in the 1850s, it was a very turbulent time in the United States. Starting in 1852, Frederick Douglass was just emerging as this very, very powerful abolitionist speaker. And so he was now getting invitations to speak in front of larger and larger, ever larger crowds. And he gave a speech, What to the Slave is the 4th of July. And he gave that on July 5th in Rochester, New York in 1852. That's 4 years before Abraham Lincoln gave his Disunion speech. So by 1856, when Abraham Lincoln gave the speech here in Galena off the second floor balcony of the DeSoto House Hotel, this narrative had already been building. This was not a surprise to anybody. But the people who wanted to keep slavery wanted to accuse Abraham Lincoln of being the disunionist, which is why Elihu Washburn invited him up here. The Dred Scott decision came down a year later in 1857, which really underscored and divided the nation because the Dred Scott decision essentially said that you'll never be free. You'll never even be a citizen. And everybody recognized that as a wrongly decided Supreme Court decision. And so the congressional brawl came out shortly after that, which led to Bleeding Kansas. If you don't understand what that was about, they had decided that they would hold a vote in Kansas, and Kansas would decide for itself whether they were going to be a slave state or a free state. But the vote was announced well in advance, so everybody starts rushing in to Kansas, the abolitionists from the north and the slaveholders from the south, and they start these fights. These conflicts are happening all the time in Kansas. And so that's why they called it Bleeding Kansas. It was literally massacres. And Lincoln gave his House Divided speech in Springfield on June 16th of 1858. And then the Frederick Douglass debates started up. One of them right here in Freeport, where my brother-in-law lives. And so Lincoln and Stephen Douglas were having these debates, and Stephen Douglas was frequently invoking Frederick Douglass because he wanted to attach Abraham Lincoln to Frederick Douglass so that they would be seen as one and the same voice, essentially casting Abraham Lincoln as sympathetic to the Black people in the United States. And it won Stephen Douglas the Senate race, but it launched the presidential run for Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln never distanced himself from Frederick Douglass because Frederick Douglass provided this moral clarity to the arguments that Abraham Lincoln was making, saying it was inherently wrong to continue to allow slavery in the United States.